Welcome to Cancer and Peace Moments. This is Peter. These moments are 15-minute clips of the larger episodes. Blessings.
And today we're going to discuss a topic that leads to peace. And I think the thing we were thinking about is like, what are some characteristics that are in the Americanized culture, what we see around us, that are going to work against your cancer peace? Mm-hmm. And in our pre-conversation, we talked about this idea of receiving from others, receiving God's grace through others in your cancer journey. If you can't learn to receive, you're not going to get to peace. Mm-hmm. And so in your cancer journey, Peter, my guess is you've had to learn to receive a lot from others. You've had to set aside your internal independence, your what is it? I'm self-made man concept.
Yeah.
And learn how to receive. Anything strike you off as we?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, thanks, Sean, for leading this discussion, and welcome, everyone. I think that definitely with any cancer diagnosis comes along this concept of, I'm going to be a burden. And it usually hits the person at any point during the process, and then especially if surgery happens or treatment or whatever, but the constant tests and the probes and everything else going on within the medical space, that person needs help. That person needs physical help, emotional help. And so that is one of the overwhelming sort of themes is I have become a burden.
Yeah, I was thinking, and it's just striking me as you're saying that too. So if I catch you off guard here a little bit, I apologize. But what do you think in an average cancer journey, like per week, hours that were all of a sudden taken out of your life? What does that look like? And I know it's going to look quite a bit different depending on the diagnosis. But like if you were to think about your own journey, maybe hours a week that have been taken and moved into this part of the journey.
Well, I mean, for me, and every cancer journey is different, but for me, the past, since 2017 for sure, which has been how long? 6 years. It's been almost a full-time job managing my physical journey between treatments and surgeries, and it's not just the actual time of getting a treatment or the actual time of getting a surgery. It's the whole recovery process. It's the time not feeling well. It's the time where you're so fatigued and you just can't do what you normally did. So you might be in a space where nothing's happening medically, but you're not able to really function like you would. Let's say it's the mom who is used to catering to her family and making meals. She's unable, she doesn't have that energy anymore. Or the guy who's used to working. In my case in 2017, I quit work because the doctor said go home and do an end-of-life journey with hospice. So I went on disability. I just didn't sit around feeling well. I felt sick. I felt, I was constantly fatigued and dealing with the side effects from my treatment. So it was difficult for me to function.
Yeah, I was thinking as you're talking about this, and did you start out in a place where you could receive well? Did you start out in a place where, and I say this, I think about my own journey, and one of the things I had to go get connected with in recovery process was this idea of being a self-made man, which then I had to lose. And I can remember, I'll go back a few years, but remember when TVs were big and they had these projection TVs?
Yeah.
And I had broken my arm. And we had this new TV that showed up. I can't remember how we got there, but it needed to go to our basement. We had this, room down there we were going to set it up in. Mm-hmm. And there was nobody there. So with a broken arm and a 60-inch projection TV thing that was big, I decided to take it downstairs myself, and it was just the stupidest thing ever. It was like I did not have the willingness to reach out and call a friend or somebody and say, hey, could you help me?
Yeah.
And there was a sense of almost pride in the self-made man concept that needed to be broken inside of me. And I didn't see that until I got into deeper recovery and started seeing that in my inventories where I was getting value based on what I did, and I would never show weakness in asking for help for others.
Yeah.
And it seems like the cancer journey is this journey where you have to show weakness and ask for help from others.
If you're a person that gets value from performing and getting the job done, it's a definite threat to that personality trait. And I think for me, in the beginning, I'd have these long surgeries and long recovery process, having my abdomen sliced open and all the stuff going on sorry for that, for expressing it like that, but but having all the work done on my urinary system. And I remember, usually I'm running around, I'm helping Leslie with the 6 children, and I'm working, and I'm just, I'm mowing the lawn, I'm doing whatever I had to do to keep things moving along, and that all stopped. And so suddenly, Leslie's there making me meals, helping me out, and she has the 6 kids too. So yeah, I wanted to just say, man, I'm sick of this physical stuff. I just want to get up and help, but I couldn't. I had to actually surrender to the recovery process, to the illness.
What do you say to somebody who says, aren't you just being selfish?
About having to receive?
Well, you have I laid out a concept that in order to have peace and healing, you're going to either have to eliminate significant things in your life because of the time constraints, or you're going to have to ask for help from others.
Yeah.
But I know that you keep talking about, it's like sometimes you feel like a burden.
Yeah.
When you start this journey, you feel like a burden. Mm-hmm. So what do you tell somebody who says, hey, I feel like a burden, I feel selfish?
I think the first thing, and it goes back to episode 3 or 4, the grieving one. Mm-hmm. I think definitely, first of all, there's this process of, hey, my life is not what it was anymore, especially with the metastatic journey, but even just going through a cancer journey, like a year or whatever it is, that space, there's this recognition that there's been this loss in my life. I can't be the person that I was as far as performance and all that. And so I've been running a cancer support group now for 16 years. And so I think every cancer patient struggles with that. I'm a burden to my family. And am I just being selfish? And I always say, listen, this is a time in your life where you have to receive. And I said, don't discount the fact that people around you, your loved ones, will get something out of serving you. That's good for them to sacrifice and have to serve you. But are you ready to receive? Because you can't perform right now. You have to sit back and take what people are, you have to be driven to appointments. You have to have meals made, all that stuff. All those practical things have to be done. And even that we're not even talking about the emotional help and the spiritual help.
And most people that are going through chemo, their body needs time to rest, mm-hmm. and they need a lot more rest than the average person does for the body to heal again. Because these treatments are very hard on the body.
Yep.
So that's fascinating that you kind of put out this concept. I think for me, it is a journey that moves us towards humility when we receive from others. And so I think there's something about peace in humility that probably should be thought about. So, why does it bring peace? And you described the sense of loss, and the loss was some of your hopes and wishes and dreams. And then I want to say, what I think I see in your life, though, is you gained something, mm-hmm. and you had to be willing to lose this hopes and wishes and dreams that you had prior to this cancer journey to pick mm-hmm. up this something. And I dare say, we could call it a faith journey, but I also want to highlight the gift of relationships. Like what I see in your life now is you've moved from a focus of building things, whether it be contracts in the legal space, and land deals and all kinds of things like that, to building deep relationships with people and connecting them to hope. Well, that's a huge change. Which one do you value more today?
Oh, that's easy today. I mean, I love being in the space of being able to partner with people and speaking into their lives, encouragement and hope as they are on the frontline trenches of this journey. Yeah, I mean, that gives me purpose and meaning that I would have never gotten in the other context.
I kind of think that's something to think about too, is that to give up some of those other things. I was thinking about this over the last week, and I had spent some time away, and one of the things I like to do is build stuff, and I've, I like to build all kinds of things. And I went down and I built some stuff with a buddy of mine, and we were in that space, and I recognized that God had changed some of my passions. And it wasn't, in the past, I think I could have thought of being more isolationist, and I could just enjoy building things and just the creative process of building. And it didn't matter what it was. It could be anything from in the computer program to a cabinet and woodworking, or something like that. It's wide ranging, and just the thrill of building something was a big passion. And I recognized that passion has waned a bunch. Because God's given me a desire to build relationships more and more and more. And now, as I was sitting back thinking about this time, is like I recognize that God's changed my passions. And I think the cancer journey, it parallels in the sense that God's probably changing your passions to something else. And to find peace in this journey, and I'm not trying to say what it is, because I think it could be different for different people, but I think relationships is big, because you start thinking a lot about those closest relationships and what are important in life. And nobody's going to put on my tombstone, Sean built something. They might say beloved father or husband or something like that, relational, but they're not going to put Sean built stuff, and some of it was decent and some of it was crap. They're going to put something relational, I think. I want to touch on something. It was something our producer pointed out to me beforehand, and we were thinking about this a bit. And it's this concept that in our culture, most of our relationships start out with something we call transactional relationships. And transactional relationships are, I'm going to do something for you, you're going to do something for me. And you may say, hey, my relationships aren't like that. But even I was amazed when I heard Keller say all marriages start out transactional. And he doesn't use absolutes very lightly. And so I started thinking about it. It's like, yeah, that's true. And the idea of marriage is starting out transactional on the surface. No, I actually just love this person. And the truth is that when I got into marriage, I was like, hey, I'm going to get these benefits in marriage. And certainly there's going to be my responsibilities. I'm going to have to perform, maybe being provider or things, whatever it is. And it looks like the greatest bargain ever, and what happens as marriage goes on is that you find each other's character defects, and you start rubbing against each other. You find these flaws, and there's irritations. And somewhere in your marriage, it's like, oh, this was a terrible deal. And I think all marriages go through these moments, and I'm not saying that that's where we're at today, but it's like there's this point where it's like, I get ripped off in this transaction, because I'm doing all this and I'm getting this something smaller, and relationships are a lot like this idea of a transaction. When you start thinking about how much of our relationships are transactional, and a great marriage moves past this transactional nature and moves into something that we would call covenantal, that learning to love without it being a transaction. And this idea, and I love this word picture, and Jack and I had gone through this, our producer Jack on the other side of the glass over here. And we were doing a book called Gentle and Lowly, and it was really good because he gave this picture of is as if a dad had given a son their birthday gift, and the son goes to his piggy bank and immediately tries to pay the dad back. And that's like a transactional, well, I've got to pay you for this gift, right? And no dad would ever want to be paid back for their birthday gift. And I think the more we get this concept in our heads, the more I get this in my heart, that true relationship isn't about equaling the transaction. Sometimes it's about receiving that gift and love and the ability to receive that kind of gift. The greatest gift a kid could give back their father is, that gives them a birthday gift, is their love and relationship and a sense of gratitude and appreciation, but not a repayment, not a repayment plan. And I think it fits into our concept here is really understanding that the deeper the relationships, the more it's covenantal and not transactional. And so I'll throw you a final question. Is that, can you relate to that? And maybe you might even have an example in your head of how that fits out a little bit. You reminded me, I'll tell my own story real quick, of a different Jack that was here in our organization who a couple of years ago, maybe just a touch longer, passed away from a pancreatic cancer journey. And I remember, his job here was in our maintenance and operations organization, and he was a doer. I mean, he was all the time getting his value, doing, and his cancer journey flattened his ability to be a doer. And this conversation just brings so much emotion to me, because I was thinking about his journey and Sean, I feel so useless, because his life was about fixing, building, doing stuff here in our ministry. And at this stage, it was about receiving. And I shared with you one of the great memories I had is when we went, he knew that his time was limited. We went to the funeral home and he got his affairs in order. And it wasn't this sad, tear-jerking time. We enjoyed life together relationally. As we were doing those hard steps of getting his affairs in order, there was something deep relational bonds that were being built and enjoyed. And it wasn't about anything he ever created. His last, several months here, he wasn't able to do anything operational, but he was just part of our family, and we got to love on him. And it was the greatest gift that he could give us, and it was the greatest gift that we could receive from him.
Yeah, I think too that you were incredibly close to him, and we had some discussions, you and I, long before that happened. But I think one of them was you get the gift of being able to help him transfer to heaven. Yeah. And then what an incredible blessing and privilege that is. Yeah.
And that's true. Yeah. Just I remember the final trip to the hospital.
Yeah.
Those were really deep relational moments.
Yeah. And so I think for the cancer patient, it gets back to God grant me the serenity to accept those things that I can't change, and going through the grief cycle of sadness and anger. But there is a loss. There's a loss of your capabilities, the time that it takes, maybe your health, your physically, like how you feel, and all the stuff going on. And so can we get to that point of acceptance and saying, for me, it's a spiritual journey, because it's okay, Lord, I'm going to surrender this to you. I have no control over this. This is where you have me. Can I accept where you have me today? And part of that is, well, Lord, it's going to give people an opportunity to serve me. And it was unbelievable. I can't say Leslie loved when I had these big surgeries, but we didn't have to make meals for 6 weeks at a time. We had so much food.
Oh, yeah.
And people would deliver the food and sit down with me and talk. And what an exchange of life. Unbelievable.
And none of those people were looking for a payment in return.
Nothing transactional going on.
Yeah.
And I had to sit back. There were times I was so nauseous I couldn't, but I had to sit back and just accept love, unconditional love. Peter, how are you doing? We brought you over a meal, praying for you. Hope everything's well. Is there anything else we can do for you? That's humbling for a doer.
Yeah.
My role was to sit back and say, I love you. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Blessings.
Welcome to Cancer and Peace Moments. I'm Sean Stewart, here with my good friend Peter Scalzo, and this week we are going to have just a 15-minute segment here that has snippets and insights from previous episodes that we think you'll find meaningful, and we hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope that you found something meaningful and insightful from what you heard today. Have a great day.